Welcome to the Business Pulse podcast. My name is Candice Jarrett. Today, we'll be talking to Jeff Revilla, founder of Poduty, a groundbreaking venue which blends experience of going to a live theater with digital podcasting. Poduty is located just outside downtown Pittsburgh. We'll dive into the intersection of technology, entertainment, and live events right here in episode 5. This is the Business Pulse podcast, where you'll discover strategies, tools, and stories to inspire success through conversations with leading business owners, startup founders, and venture capitalists. Our aim is your success. Presented by XKOVA, a next-generation payment processor to help your business thrive. Visit us at xkova.com. Jeff, it's so nice to have you here today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to the next half hour here.
Me too. First, I want to say, look at that gorgeous venue behind you. Now, the people who are in the listening audience, like if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you won't be able to see it, but it is gorgeous. It is gorgeous. Just the lights, the saturated red curtain, the big, stage trussing. I love the stage design. It's just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it's just something that was stuck in my head for about 7 years, and to see it come alive. And we just opened in June, and the feedback, just like your first reaction, your first impression, seeing it here now, that's the typical reaction that I get. Like, how can this little space pack so much into it? And it's just great seeing people, start to see the vision that I've been carrying around for so long.
It's a beautiful use of the space. So I want to jump in even to the theater design and stuff, but let's back up. I want to hear the aha moment. Like, can you take us back to the moment where you decided that you were going to create a venue in real life, but dedicated to live podcasting?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a story. So give me just a little bit of a backstory. I'll take you back to 2015. If we go back to 2015, there was a platform called Blab. And some of us remember it was one of the first 4-in-the-box live streaming services. And you could go live, and Blab had this amazing social element. And it's at that time I launched my trivia show in 2015. I would go live, and all of a sudden, this room would have 30 people converge on it to hang out, play live trivia. You could do all kinds of different commands to make the screen shake or make it snow on the screen. And you could give props to different people. There's this great community element, and Blab ended up growing faster than they could keep up with and ended up folding in like 2017. And for those of us who were there, it left this giant hole of what can we do? And we all tried different things like Google Hangouts and YouTube Live, and Appearin was a big one. Hopin was a big one. And they never really recreated that community platform. And it really showed us that doing a live podcast could be so much more than just, one-on-one or a panel discussion. You could really add all these elements into it. And I started to have this idea of, what if I didn't have to wait for Blab, to come to me? What if I could take that anywhere? And so my first design, and I have pictures of it, I'll send them to you if you want to publish the photos, but I designed a theater that would fit in my sedan. I called it Theater Anywhere. And I had speakers, I had the mixing board, I had a podium that I would wheel around, like and I thought, if I could just show up at a park, at a pavilion, and near a walking trail, and just interview people and hang out and just take the show to the public, that would be so much fun and so amazing. And I did that, and I met with a friend who was just opened a coffee shop, and he's like, why don't we do this? We'll do free tacos, and we'll do your live shows. And I was like, oh my, this is perfect. And
I would definitely sign up for that.
We scheduled it for March 30th, 2020. The timing wasn't spectacular.
Bad timing.
So
but you had me at Cafe with Free Tacos.
Yeah,
and
Cafe with Free Tacos. Yeah. And we ended up canceling, and we put it on the back burner. But I thought about, okay, I want to do these live performances, but what if what if I just move this to my basement? Because we're all isolated now. We're quarantining in our houses. I was like, well, if I had a little theater in my basement, then people could just come here. We'll hang out. It'll be a hang. But I'm kind of limited by capacity. And so I came up with this idea called the Infinite Seat Theater. And back in 2020, I presented this at PodFest Origins. And so it was a virtual conference. It's based out of Orlando. And the feedback was amazing. They're like, whoa, this Infinite Seat Theater, what if you're not, didn't matter what size space you were in, you could broadcast that to anybody. So your capacity isn't limited Like my theater that you're looking at behind me has 40 seats, but I'm not limited to 40 tickets because I can broadcast that to thousands of people. So now my little $800 a month theater, that's my rent. Spoiler alert. It's really, I got a good price on it.
That's a great deal.
It's that overhead, I can sell as many tickets as Madison Square Garden or a mid-sized theater in a large city. So I'm not limited. I can scale exponentially fast. I can pivot fast. I can move faster than a giant, hotel. If you're going to run a conference out of a hotel, you got to hire help. You got to hire their sound people. You have to hire most likely we're Pittsburgh, so we always support the union workers that come in. They do the move in, move outs. They do the stage. You got to hire all these people. What if I had it all set up? You come in, you do your show, it's plug and play. We broadcast it, we sell tickets, and we are this little tiny box, but we have the capacity to be huge and infinite. And that infinite seat theater, that concept in 2020, that was really where this sparked this idea.
That's amazing.
That
Wow.
might have been a longer story than you were bargaining for.
I loved it. It was fantastic. I love the idea of you starting with this vision of wanting to like take it out to the streets and like, be out with the people. But then COVID happened and then you got shut inside. But then you're like, you didn't give up on it anyway. You're like, how can I reinvent this dream to like make it work? So Poduty, how did you come up with that name?
It's obviously you're coming up with business names, you're trying different things, working different things. And I kept putting words together. I always like, podcasting, and I wanted pod to be part of it because that's easy for people to associate with. And then I'm on a mission, right? I'm trying to bring live podcasting to people, your mission, or it's my duty to bring podcasting. So it's a portmanteau of the word podcasting and the word duty, but it's also makes people smile every time they say the word Poduty. So
Yeah.
This is a fun place. It's, I want to have fun. I want people to laugh and come here. I want it to feel safe. I want it to be like, like when you were a kid on the playground and somebody said, maybe a little bit of a bad word and you chuckled a little bit like, haha. Poduty gives you that fun, playful place. And that's what this is. This is a place for creators to come be themselves. The stage is open to everybody. If you have an idea and you want to create something, you are totally welcome here. And if you say the name, maybe you tell your friends or family where you'll be at tonight. I'm gonna be at the Poduty Podcast Theater. They might say what?
The what?
And it's fun. It's just, and I love that it came, it was short. It was fun to say, and it's only 6 letters. So to get one of my biggest accomplishments in life will be I bought a 6-letter domain name in 2020. It's 1 letter less than Netflix. My joke is,
that's true.
Are you going to type 7 letters to go to Netflix? I don't think so. You'll probably type 6 letters because it's faster to go to Poduty.com.
And go to Poduty.com. So I'm definitely going to take you up on your offer about those early theater designs. I would love to, to post them. So yeah, afterward, I'll give you my email and then we can connect on that. And then people can go to our social media and check it out because people need to see the after. Like I'm looking at it right now and it's so beautiful. I know some people will be listening. So if you're listening, head on over to the social media. There's links in the description and then you'll get to see the before and after because it's lovely. So I want to talk to you about the performances themselves and the impact that doing a podcast in front of a live audience has. When you see your podcasters essentially performing, like putting on their show, do you feel that they have a different energy when there are other people in the room as opposed to if it was just like them and a microphone?
Yeah, not only are they, not only are they excited to be in the room and present their podcast, but there's 2 other parts of this that I uncovered after. The first one isn't a big secret. Anybody who's been on stage, that when you come off of the stage, you are juiced. Like you are so pumped up. Is one of the greatest feelings, the greatest rushes coming off stage. So now they get that energy. But the other thing is a lot of podcasters, like myself, I was in my basement for a while doing a trivia show and I didn't get out other than connecting with people virtually. But I realized when you can say, I'll be on the main stage or come see me on the main stage at the Poduty Podcast Theater. We'll be there Thursday nights at 9 p.m. As a local, small, independent podcaster, when you get that credibility of getting to perform on a main stage in front of people, you're audio audience, the people who are downloading it, they're going to hear that. That adds a whole level of credibility to your show, to you as a host, to your podcast, and your fans get excited for you too. And that energy carries to the stage, where you got all a range of characters. You have some people who take a little bit of time to warm up and they're a little bit nervous, but once they get going and once the interaction happens, and then once they get off stage, they're sold, for life. Live podcasting is something that it's different than any other type of podcasting you've done before. And it just hooks you in, and it's the way you want to do it going forward, actually.
That's awesome. So I want to talk to you about the type of people who perform at your theater. So what kind of shows are they doing? And do the audience have a particular favorite style of show? Like you mentioned that you do the trivia shows.
Yeah, the trivia shows are great. They play well both in person and virtually. You can play on your phone, whether you're in the theater. You could be playing somebody in Portland, Maine, or Portland, Oregon, and we have a leaderboard, so it encourages this competition. And the stage isn't, my focus and my love is podcasting, but I built this stage to be multi-purpose. So we've done fundraisers. We did a great fundraiser for local animal shelters about a month and a half ago, where it was loosely based on trivia, and we made it competitive, whereas every shelter was guaranteed 20% of the door, and then whoever won the competition got the other 20%. So one shelter got 40% and the other three got 20%. So we made that a little bit of competitive event, and people had a great time raising money for a great cause. We've done festivals, we've done 12-hour live streams, where one of the features of this is, just because I'm on stage doesn't mean my guest or that you have to be on stage with me. You can interview somebody in Oklahoma or Florida while you're on the stage. They can interact with the audience. The people watching at home can interact by leaving comments, and they can even pop up on stage with us. So, during that 12-hour festival, we had people from all over the world, Canada, and they were coming in and out, popping in, running their shows, and we were holding it all down here in the outside of Pittsburgh. So really, we can accommodate anything that anybody's come to me so far. This stage is capable of handling that style of show.
I was actually going to ask. So I feel that what you're doing is so unique, because people who podcast from, as you said, all over the United States, I mean, if they wanted to connect with their audience in your area, I mean, would you be a stop on a podcast tour? I mean, have you had anybody reach out to you about that yet? I know you guys are still kind of new.
Yeah, that's my dream. Yeah, we did just open in June, but my dream is that what you're seeing now is, and we were talking a little bit about, filling up theaters and arenas and people who podcast in the home. This is this middle space. This is like a third space, a third place that's in between, isolation at your home and filling up arenas. So how do we bridge that gap? Well, I think places like this are going to start popping up more and more. I realize I'm a little bit early to this game, and I think as we get into a year, 2 years from now, this is going to be a pretty normal thing in every city. Just like music venues have smaller clubs that, people tour and they go through town to town. They play, these 200, 300 seat clubs, the smaller clubs. You're going to see that same type of club environment for podcasting in 1, 2, 3 years. And my goal is we all start to connect and talk to each other. I love talking about what I built. I love sharing exactly how I did it. I'll tell anybody, like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Here's how you do it. If you want to open one in Cleveland or Tulsa, that's great, because now I have 2 other stops that I can plug in podcasters to, and we can start making tours around the country. And probably when you look at the math at what you can actually do with a live show, that could actually support a single person who hosts their own show, or a pair of people who host their own show. You can make it from town to town, have a great little vacation, meet some of your fans, make a couple bucks, and do a little tour. And that's what I really see coming down the road in the next few years.
I mean, comedians do it all the time, right? I mean, it's really a similar idea. They're just them and a microphone and an audience, but this is just a different type of content and a different type of audience, because the audience has different expectations of what they're going to see. That's so fascinating. The idea of touring as a podcast in real life. I mean, because you can still, every show, reach your regular audience who is listening from their car in San Francisco, or their living room in Oklahoma or wherever they are. But, you can physically be there also with, a handful of your fans, really.
Yeah. And we
So,
record the show, and I don't take any ownership over the recording. I give that back to the show for them to release as a future episode. So not
wow.
only can they, make a couple bucks selling tickets, but they don't have to do all the recording anymore. I'll do the recording. They get
Yeah.
the episode back. They could theoretically sell ads on their audio file that they're going to release as their audio podcast. So now they can start to make multiple streams of income from the same show. If you have a ticket sales, you bring your own merch, you can sell ads on the tickets. You could even sell spot on the, you want to put a banner on the stage. You could have a show sponsor. Then you get the audio. You can plug in your audio ads. You could do some host read ads, and then you can distribute that. And some podcast hosts will place ads for you, or some networks will place ads for you. All of a sudden, you have a nice little stream of income from one single piece of content that you've created.
That's fantastic. And I want to say that I think that's smart on two ways. One, it's very generous of you to do that for the people, like to help lift them up as they come through your venue. And two, I think it's really smart from your perspective as a growth hack, since you are new, like getting the word out by you supporting these podcasters and helping them grow their audiences. It only helps Poduty because it helps get the word out. So I love that phrase, rising tides raise all ships. I really do
That's my
believe that's
mantra.
true.
It is really, I say that all the time. And my goal is, yes, a lot of us are smaller shows. A lot of shows come through here. I know they're going to sell 5 or 10 tickets, and that's okay. Maybe that's a Monday or a Tuesday show. My goal is to help them, bring people in. I would say I'm trying to get butts and seats. That's all I care about. I don't care how many people come in. Let's just get some people in here. Let's see what you can do. Let's work through what you recorded and see if next time can we get the 15 tickets, right? Can we grow and grow? And eventually my goal is to help you get to 100 or 200 tickets. And the way we do it at the end of the night, we just split the door 50-50. But as you grow and grow, my goal is to shift that percentage in your favor so that it's maybe a 60-40 or 70-30. My goal is to be fair to the content creator and fair to the house.
You're really in a great situation because you have very little overhead at which for such a beautiful space. I mean, you got very lucky with that.
Well, I also spent 2 years trying to
Yeah,
find the right space. I looked at over 40 properties. I was trying to get in and out of different places, and nothing worked till I found this. I walked into here and I knew right away. And sorry, I had a little cough there.
that's
There's
okay.
a making of video where you can see what the space looked like before I took it over. And I'll share that link with you too if you want to take a look at it. But
Oh yeah,
we came in and took about 30 days. We flipped this around. I had been buying all the pieces for about 18 months. I had the stage was in my garage. These chairs I actually bought from a Catholic school for $2 a piece. So a lot of things I also bought a lot of stuff from like Amazon auction. So I really furnished this whole place for maybe a $2,000
amazing.
just because I did it over time, and I sprung on deals when I found them, and that really helped keep costs down. And when I came in here and I found out about the rent, and the landlord is just amazing, and like it was the right relationship, the right place, the right time, and I jumped on it. Like within 10 minutes, I told him this is the place I want.
That's amazing. I think that you brought up such a great point. Is I think business owners, one, timing is important, and two, being scrappy. Like you made something incredible with not much. And I think a lot of people who are starting a business maybe for the first time think that they need to go out and buy the best thing. They need to spend all this money on the best thing. But really what you need is to, be scrappy essentially,
Yeah,
and to keep your costs down. That way you can keep your costs down for your customer while still delivering them, the best products you can, like, and then just grow over time.
yeah. I mean, I knew going into this, and I budgeted for 6 to 9 months of runway. Like we opened in June, and I'm doing 4, 5, 6 events a month. My goal was to get to 2, 3, 4 events a week, but I knew it's going to take time, not only to find podcasters who are ready to move, from home studios and basement podcasting to a main stage. I have to build that up, but I also have to teach the public, hey, this is a new form of entertainment. This is something different than you're used to. You may think of podcasting as something you do on your morning commute, maybe while you're working out. But here's a night out. Some my shows are family friendly. You can come play trivia. You don't have to worry about language or there's no alcohol or food sales here. We have like a concession stand, like snacks and water and stuff. But it's a affordable, safe, fun third place for families to go. In my case, they can play trivia. They all have their own phones. They can all play against each other and talk a little bit of trash. Sometimes you hear that in the audience, and it's fun. It's a good time.
Also, which happens at comedy shows. So I really feel that it is just what you said. You hit the nail on the head, a new form of entertainment.
Yeah.
So how has the community reacted to it?
The community has been phenomenal. I've had so much press already. The local magazine put me on the cover of the magazine. I've had the local paper has come in, done I got a cover story on like their lifestyle page. We do these night markets. I'm part of them. They're put on by the township, and they let me open up. I can come out on the sidewalk, and it's a big festival where they bring in street vendors and food vendors and crafters, and I'm part of that. And I get to give tours and show off the place, and they're so receptive of what I'm doing. They're so excited what we're doing. I even for Halloween and for Christmas, I had a local artist paint the windows. So I'm getting them talking about the place because they see the local artist, and we actually did like a big Beetlejuice mural, the sandworm from Beetlejuice for Halloween, and then Christmas we have Santa like kind of dabbing, and like snow and two snowmen podcasting on the window. It's happy holidays. So we're incorporating the community and just trying to be a fun, positive place. We're in the Rust Belt too, so a lot of these small towns in Western PA, they had their heyday, and now a lot of these are revitalizing and coming back, and we're part of that revitalization. I couldn't be prouder.
That's wonderful. I'm so happy to hear that on every level. I love that you're getting the community involved. I love that you're doing these like family friendly things and fun things around the holidays. And what you said earlier about the animal shelters. I mean, you're just hitting all of the great points. You've built something so beautiful and amazing. And I really hope that more people can hear about it, and that, every seat is jammed, and that you're at capacity every night. I think it's, you have such a great attitude, and you've built something so beautiful with almost nothing. And so I'm very excited to check in with you like a year from now to see like how you've grown.
Oh, I'd love to give you an update. That would be great. I'd like to see where I am too.
If only we could have those future goggles to look and see. But I think it's going to be amazing and fantastic. So can we give advice to people who do not have a podcast yet, and maybe who aren't local to your area, but who are just starting a podcast for the first time and want to learn how to grow?
Yeah, I'll tell you, my biggest hang up was I didn't want to hear my voice. I didn't like the way I sounded. I didn't like being recorded. I didn't even like being on video. And that was a hang up for me for many years, until I realized one little phrase, and I say it all the time, and I don't mean it as a negative thing. I don't mean it to diminish what you're trying to accomplish. But the truth is, no one cares. And I'm the only one who's hung up on me. When I say I don't want to hear my voice, I don't want to see myself on camera, that 100% is me. And I know from so many people, that's the thing that hangs them up from starting a podcast, is they're just intimidated. They don't want to get on camera. They don't want to be on the microphone. And when I tell them, like, listen, you're the only one who's thinking about that. Other people have to get their kids to soccer practice. They have bills to pay. For whatever reason, they chose to listen to you for a half an hour. They chose you. So all you need to do is deliver on that half an hour, to deliver entertainment, deliver education, information, whatever they wanted. They're there for that. That's why they're there. Don't let that hang you up. Don't let that push you down. I can't even tell you how many times I get complimented on my voice, which I don't even understand.
So you have a great voice for podcasting. You really do.
And I didn't know that. And I thought I was terrible. And why would somebody listen to somebody from Pittsburgh with a speech impediment who runs all his words together into one sentence? I just didn't know that. And I all those things were on me. And I know that probably half the people who are on the fence about starting a podcast, those are the same feelings they have inside. And I promise you, you're the only one. If you make a mistake, you're the only one who knows on camera that you made a mistake. If you pronounce the word wrong, like I just did there, nobody is going to judge you or call you or pen you an angry letter. They're there for you because you're delivering something that they need at the time, whether it's just a trivia show is a break for half an hour to just be silly and answer questions together. They're there for you. You just have to deliver, and you should be so grateful that they came to see you.
I agree with that. I think that, if you have one listener or you have a million listeners, you should give the same show, because it should always be, you care about the person that spent their time to listen to you. So 100% every time. I think that's important.
Yeah, 1,000. And there is a relationship that does get built, and there is some level of caring, but just, the only things that are holding you back are things that you're thinking about, and you are the only one thinking about it. That I promise you. And you'll realize, once you realize that, that'll set you free to do whatever you want to do. Nothing will hold you back once you realize, okay, that's just something I think about. Nobody else is thinking about that. I can move on now. I'm free to do that.
I think that's wonderful advice. I think that especially in today's day and age with social media, it is very easy for people to get self-conscious because they see like a curated image of other people's like lives, like, oh, this is so perfect. Again, going back to what I said about the business owners, that they feel like, oh, I can't start my business unless I can afford to have this really fancy thing. But that's not true. You can start now. You can start now with what you've got and then build on and grow. But to your point, you have to just have that bravery to put yourself out there and to just say, okay, I'm just going to not be self-conscious about this and I'm just going to use my voice.
Yeah. And you also mentioned on the financial side too, bootstrap everything. Like whatever you don't need the state of the art stuff. I know that I'm looking at these cameras that I want to get PTZ cameras, which are the ones that kind of turn, and they're called pan, tilt, and zoom. You can control them with a joystick. That's a big dream of mine. Right now, I just have 6 stationary cameras that's small enough space that I can cover everything. They're not the cameras I want, but they're the cameras that I could afford when I opened. And that was what I was comfortable with budgeting so that I could have the 6 to 9 month runway. For me, the runway was more important than having the best things all at once. Like I could have had a bigger stage, or I could even bought a bigger truss to put more lights on. But I spent $30. Those lights that you see total were $30. I got on an auction. So I waited and I pounced when the offers and the deals were there so that I could stretch that so I can achieve my goal, my dream. 2 years from now, I'll still be in business and not worrying about the day-to-day expenses, the day-to-day costs, because I didn't spend it all up front.
That's so smart. So when you talked about the auction, I think you mentioned Amazon auctions.
Yeah, we're in Pittsburgh. We have a place called Mac.bid, and they just buy. It kind of grosses you out when you see like an old Sears building just filled wall to wall with pallets of Amazon returns. And this company buys all these. They buy I don't know how many pallets. When I tell you thousands of pallets, they're buying thousands of pallets of Amazon returns. They retag everything and then they auction it off. And so, like these blue chairs that you see behind me, for the audio audience, they're really nice bar chairs. They're like, they're $400 retail that I got for $75. So the chairs on my stage were $75. That would have been $400. And that table I got in an auction for $20. That's $100 table. So right there, instead of spending $500, I spent $100. So I reduced my expenses of furnishing this theater easily by 80% on the stage that you're looking at right now. And that was, that was a strategy. And I know that there's these type of auction places all over the country, but the one we have has about 10 locations in Pennsylvania, Ohio, I think maybe even West Virginia. And that strategy of, I don't have to buy this brand new on Amazon. I could try to get it for 20% of the retail price. If it's a loser or a dud, I can try again, and I'm only at 40% of the retail price. So, my goal was, take swings of the bat like a baseball player. The more times at bat, the more times you get a home run. And there was nothing that was a loser bid. Everything I bought worked out. And I know that I saved $4,000 to $5,000 by buying returns, Amazon returns.
That's the way to do it, and amazing. So I want to ask you one more question about the people who are like digital podcasters who are starting. Like you have a lot of experience meeting different podcasters from different, types of shows. If somebody doesn't know what type of topic they want to talk about, but they want to start a podcast, how would you tell them to, how would you give them advice on how to find that topic?
Yeah, research. What I would look at, what do you look at? What is your algorithm sharing with you? Like Facebook knows you maybe a little bit better. TikTok knows you maybe a little bit better than Facebook. Instagram is probably showing you things that you have interest in. So, look at your expertise. Do you have anything that you talk about with your friends all the time, or your friends come to you with questions like, how do I fix this? Or I'm trying to build a website. No, you're the person that knows how to build a website or how to optimize, for the search results. If you have some sort of skill that people ask you, that's probably a way to start. That's probably a place to start. If you have interest in, that every Thursday night you go down to, there's maybe a board gaming store, and you play, I don't know, what board, like Settlers of Catan for some reason, and you're a board game enthusiast, then maybe board games are something you want to talk about, strategy. I mean, for me, I always like to do, everything I do seems to be a game show. So like, for me, I chose trivia, and that's a lot of fun for me. It's a hangout. I get to hang with people, we get to goof around, ask questions. So, look around you. Start there. Start with, what do you do on the weekends? Do you go to like apple orchards? Do you go, this is the time of year to go to apple orchards? Do you go to a lot of food places? Maybe you're some sort of critic you don't know about. Start making a list of things you really like, things that you talk about all the time, and just see what bubbles to the top. See what you really get comfortable with.
That's great advice. So, what is next for the listening audience that maybe wants to see what kind of programming you have coming up? What kind of shows do you have coming up that people can tune into?
Yeah, we just relaunched Rise and Outshine. If it's almost like Star Search for podcasts, where a show comes on every week and they do 10 minutes of their show. And while they're doing it, here comes that game show element again. The folks at home are pulling up their phone and they're scoring the podcast that they're listening to on, audio quality, or how are the hosts? Are they engaging? Does the content that they're delivering match the description they gave us at the beginning of the show? That's a big thing. A lot of people will say, hey, my show is about such and such, and then they spend 30 minutes talking about their grocery shopping on Saturday. It didn't match the expectation. So we're looking at all these little features, and then the people at home and the judges, which I have two co-hosts for that show, we are typing stream of conscious words, and we're building this giant word cloud to go over at the end of the show. So, was it inspirational, funny? People type in quotes that they heard during the podcast, and we go over all this. This is what people felt and thought and heard while they listened to your show. So that's a really fun show and again, that rising tide lifts all ship. This is all done with love and respect, and all we want to do is, maybe your audio quality was a little bit off. We'll talk about that, and we'll see how can we help you make a podcast with better audio the next time you're out. And so we're doing all this to, again, lift all ships, that rising tide. We have some sports shows that we're in talk with that are going to maybe do some shows, because we're a big Steeler country out here in Pittsburgh. So that Pittsburgh is full of sports podcasts. We have some horror movies coming up. We got some other things along with my trivia show that we're doing 2 times a month. I have a boudoir convention coming up with photography and women's empowerment and encouragement. That's being produced by a friend of mine, Melissa Jackson. That'll be in February. So all, like, really the multi-purpose ability of this stage is just bringing in people from all over the place.
That's fantastic. So I think we're almost at time. So I just want to ask, well, I guess, wait, I can't leave it without asking this other question. When people interact with your app, is it an application or is it as a website? Like, how do people do that? You said that it was interactive from the audience perspective.
Sure. Everything is web-based, and we stream with accessibility in mind. So I even have a page on the website, how do we stream with accessibility? And I show you how to use the video live stream to get real-time closed captioning. Sorry about that. I got a little tickle tonight.
That's okay.
And the app I use is a program called Mentimeter. It's menti.com whenever you're on the app, and you can scan it. There's a QR code, and it pulls up like PowerPoint slides kind of, and they're fully interactive. I do the trivia the same way. There's, 4 options. You pick an A, B, C, or D, and, you're playing on your phone, all web-based. There's no need to download any apps, and you could just do it right on your phone. It's so much fun. And so the goal was to be simple, right? Keep it simple. And, have somebody just pull up their phone and scan a QR code or type in a short code is very easy, and anybody can do that. And, that's the goal. I don't want to pause the show for 5 minutes to try to teach everybody how to download an app, how to create an account. We don't have time. We got to keep the show moving. And, using those types of tools helps us do that, helps us make it accessible for everybody, makes it easy. Nobody has to feel silly because, they have to follow 9 steps to be able to participate. It's scan and go and you're in.
Oh yeah, that's critical for growing the audience, making it as easy as possible for people to get from the point when they sign up to the point when they're having fun on the app, which is what you want them to do. So yes. Incredible. So is there anything that you want to, close out the show with? Any parting words?
No, again, like I said, I love talking about this. And if you're the question 2 questions ago, if you're on the fence or you're trying to think about what can I do, what can I create, I'd love to just talk to you. I do this all the time. I sit down with people, half an hour, 45 minutes. We'll just talk about it. You don't have to come to my theater. You don't have to do a live show. Maybe you'll take my advice and launch a podcast, and then you'll come on my Star Search Rise and Outshine show in a month or 2. That'd be great. I'd love to have you as a guest. So
what's the best way for people to contact you?
Sure. You can reach me at jeff@poduty.com. That's pretty easy. I'm on LinkedIn, fairly active. You can find Jeff Revilla, Revilla. Just search me on LinkedIn. I think I'm the only Jeff Revilla, so I should pop right up for you.
Fantastic. And for the listening audience, do not forget to go to our social media because we will be sharing those pictures before and after the theater and also reposting the video that Jeff was talking about where he was going through the process of creating the theater. So I would definitely repost that video. Very excited to see it. So Jeff, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it. Love what you're doing.
Thank you. This was so much fun.